Laughing Vikings Live. High vibe chats with actors, comedians, and creators, plus stand-up comedy, sketch comedy, and most importantly, you. That's right, join us every Monday for new episodes, and you can be a part of the show on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Twitch. Ask questions and interact in the comments, and make sure to share this with your actor, comedian, and creator friends so they can be a part of the show too. Can't make a live show? No problem. You can catch up on your favorite podcast platform and visit laughingvikings.com to find out how you can join the cast and crew. All right, it's time for today's show. Buckle up and make sure you stick around to the end because we have a special surprise for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Laughing Vikings Live. Happy Monday Fun Day. Let's go. I'm feeling hot, hot, hot. It is a spicy, muggy Monday here. Monday Fun Day at Laughing Vikings. Sticky. It's a sticky one here in Comedy Alley. But we're going to podcast stickiness or not. That's what we just plow through this. Doesn't matter. We're like the postman. It's what do they say? Rain, sleet, snow, shine. No matter what, we're going to get you your Monday podcast. Doesn't matter.
Nothing stopping us.
Doesn't matter how humid. Doesn't matter that the humidex says is 58 degrees today. I don't know what it says, but it doesn't feel like the air is healthy enough to breathe right now. Doesn't it kind of feel like that? Earlier today, Brandon and I played basketball on the basketball court, and it was at like 9 a.m., and it was stifling. It was roasting out there.
It's a good thing we found a court in the shade, or else we would have been roasting out there. And like you can already see sort of the tan lines on me currently. Like
a little heat stroke and heat exhaustion is not a bad way to drop a few pounds.
No,
you just shed about 5 pounds of water, dehydrate yourself completely, and then all of a sudden you're ripped. It's like, holy shit, when did I get so ripped? Oh, it was the heat stroke yesterday, right? Right. Well, good to see you. It's good to be here. We got a great episode today. It's an Ask Us Anything relating to acting, performing, comedy, Laughing Vikings. We got a bunch of questions lined up that were submitted via email and over social media. And we're going to answer those, and we'll delve into those. If you're watching right now live on Facebook or on YouTube, be sure to type any questions that you have for us in the comments throughout and interact, and we'll throw those up on screen. And stick around to the end. There's always giveaways at the end, and there's going to be one today. So, Brandon, make sure you remind me. But first, we should let you know about this weekend in Comedy Alley. Here I am here. We had two fantastic shows, very different. We actually had the first show on Friday, our youngest audience member ever. We had a fetus in the crowd. First time we ever had a baby that hadn't been born yet. Apparently a comedy fan. Literally, the parents were walking down Queen Street and they saw the sign out front. And she's 2 days. Yeah, there she is. Pop her up. That's Mirella, I believe, if I'm pronouncing it right. Mirella and Corey right there. And in that picture, this was last Friday. So what's that? 3 days ago. She was already 2 days overdue. So they came to the comedy show hoping to like shake the baby out of there with like belly laughs, like or to get her to like laugh, cry, and sees that your stomach and your cheeks hurt. Maybe like doing like laugh Kegels where she's tensing and relaxing and stuff. So it was incredible. It was amazing. It became like that was the goal of the show. I was like, okay, dreams come true here at these comedy shows, but I guarantee you all these comedians are good enough to make a baby happen on stage. And we were like, throughout the show, we were just like crossing our hands that it was going to happen on the stage. And so I was hosting. So one comedian would go up and then I'd come back up and be like, oh, do we have any leakage? Is the water broken? Is that the placenta? Do I see an afterbirth? And she was fine. Like, it sounds horrific right now, but she was 100, if not 1,000% into it. Like, everything was killing her. They were the sweetest people ever. It was magical. It was a magic moment because, like, I mean, the baby didn't arrive, but the baby's there. So she said at one point, she was like, the baby's hiccuping. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, is it a hiccup or is that a ha 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 hiccup and a laugh for a baby inside an amniotic sac? Probably sounds a lot.
It's hard to tell those two apart sometimes.
Yeah, I think it'd be very difficult. So we leaned on the side of that was baby's first laugh. Laughter is the best medicine. So we're really pumped for Mirella and Corey. They were our special VIP guests. They may right now already have had the baby. They were really hoping like the perfect case scenario would have been if she had gone into contractions right at the end of the show, because they had decided that they weren't going to allow us to deliver the baby on stage. They're like, oh, if it's gonna come, we are going to leave and go to the hospital. I'm like, well, you can't leave before the show's over at least. So we try to time it properly, but there was not a single punchline that was strong enough to burst that baby out of there. So that's a tough bar for a stand-up comic. I don't think any of the comedians in the alley that Friday night had ever been in a situation where the goal was
they were that close to a live birth
to make a baby happen.
Yeah.
So I like to think that they didn't tell us the name of the baby. They didn't want to reveal, but they did say it was a girl. They knew that it was a girl. So I like to believe that little girl has lifetime pass to Comedy Alley. I told them they can bring the baby and all the baby's friends.
Yeah.
Babies have friends, right?
We'll have its first birthday here.
Yeah, that'd be weird, eh? Little, I'll call all the comedians who have material that will relate to babies, like a lot of applesauce jokes and a lot of animal cracker jokes.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, we got a comment there. There's a Laughing Vikings OG regular saying hello, Adam Daniel Mazet. If it's none other than Lars and the BK broiler, sizzle away, my friends. Sizzle and crackle away.
That's what we do.
The BK broil. So again, shout out to Mirella and Corey. I hope your baby daughter's already with us here, and she's been living it up in the first days of her life. And I can tell you, she's going to be a really happy, joyful baby because she pretty much started her life in a comedy club. It's great. Maybe
we got another picture of you that same night.
That's the same night.
Oh yeah, look at you, so surprised, shocked.
Yeah, that's me
hoping that the baby's gonna be born.
Yeah, that's me realizing that a baby might be born.
You would need a different hat. You need another hat. You need a doctor's hat.
I told him though, if the baby came past halfway through the show, that I would only charge the baby half price for the show.
You're like, so generous.
You guys bought 2 tickets. You bought 2 tickets. They bought the date night special. So shout out to all pregnant couples out there. If you want to try and make your baby come a little faster, then we'll
come on down.
Yeah, hit up the date night special. Go to laughingvikings.com/comedy alley. And the date night special gets you 2 tickets for $49 instead of the single ticket rate of $29. So you can save a little cashola and come on down and try and have that baby.
And then we also have pictures from Saturday night as well.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that was a full house, if not almost too full.
Saturday was, and it was crazy how it just all materialized. That's the fun thing about shows. Sometimes you never know. You hope that you pre-sell and that you're pre-sold out. We weren't. And I think it was around between 7:30 and showtime 9, tickets started coming in, a handful online, got some messages. There was a walk-in group of six or seven people that were walking by Queen Street, and they were like, comedy, we will, let's do this. And then also Rodrigo Stoll, who was on the show as well and blew the house, if there was a roof, he would have blown it off, but there's no roof in Comedy Alley because we got tired of having to replace roofs. So we're like, we need to do stand-up shows just in an alley in a roofless place rather than blow these roofs off every week. So Rod blew the roof off, but he also had, I think, 8. It was either an 8 or a 10 pack of his buddies from Markham, like a bunch of his maybe high school, like people he grew up with. I'm not sure if they were high school or college buddies. So yeah, I think there's probably about 20 people stretched through the alley there. Yeah, amazing show. So to shout out to all of the comedians on Saturday night. Who'd we have? We had Mo Ishmael. Yeah, we had Rodrigo, Mo Ishmael, Sarah Ashby, Seema Saperi. Friday night, we had Liam Kelly, Mark DeBonis, and Ryan Dillon. So just a weekend of train killers, people who have done all the festivals. They've done Just for Laughs, JFL 42, traveled across this country and other countries doing stand-up and headlining comedy clubs. So it's just amazing night. So, but two very different nights, but equally special. One, the energy and the volume and just the number of the people there. And then the other was very, very small and intimate, but it was such a cool vibe having Corey and Mirella and this sort of ongoing theme of, are we going to have the baby? Yeah.
And then we have another picture of Rodrigo and the people that he brought. And
yeah, that's the Markham. That's his Markham boys right there.
There you go.
Rodrigo sang a song too. He's wildly funny, and then he's also got the smoothest butter voice as well. Yeah, it's great.
What did he sing?
He has a song called it's to the tune of Easy Like Sunday Morning, but I think it's like I'm sleazy. I forget the lyrics, but yeah, it's basically about a guy at a sleazy bar that won't stop staring and looking at you and stuff like. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was a great weekend. It was amazing. So be sure to hit up Comedy Alley. And one thing I also want to promote and just give a shout out to here is a couple weeks we had our first birthday group. But on the website, if you go to laughingvikings.com/comedy alley, you can buy single tickets. You can buy the date night special, but you can also buy a 10-pack birthday or group special. So if you have a birthday coming up or a bachelorette or a bachelor party, maybe a work function, any kind of family type reunion, you can buy those 10 packs. And if you want to go one step higher than that, and if you want to just buy out the whole alley for a private event, where it's just you and your group, and we'll make you and your group the stars of the show. Maybe there's someone that you want to celebrate if they have a birthday or something to celebrate happening. But we'll make it all about you. We do live stream the event too. So you can book out the alley, invite the people that can come in person, invite your other family and friends to tune in via the live stream. And then we can even get you a copy of it. So you have an unforgettable night and you won't forget it because you'll have a physical copy of the, well, I guess not a physical copy. We're not going to make you a DVD of it, but you'll have a digital copy of that unforgettable night. Yes.
Amazing. And we have a couple more comments from Adam Daniel Mazet.
Yeah, he's lighting up the comment section right now.
Yeah, he's saying, broiler, he wouldn't need a different hat if he were operating the LV MASH hospital. Yo. That's good. I like that. You know, did you ever watch MASH?
Oh yeah, back in the day after I watched it after school. Yeah,
my grandpa used to love it. I would watch it with him. Such a fun show.
And he also says here, pull up the next one. He says, I love the alley. It can double as their own version of the trash compactor scene from Star Wars if anyone was looking for a location. You're absolutely right, Adam. It's funny you mentioned that because I've done that a few times in the show, actually in the show as well. Like 3PO, shut down the compactors in the detention center. Shut down all the compactors in the detention level. 3PO, where is he? Right? Yeah, and they're like and he's like grabbing something to like prop it up, and it just bends and twists. 3PO. Nailed it.
I'm the eye that pops up.
Yeah, you're the weird eye. Yeah. Or hold your mic. Hold your mic up.
Oh, right. Yeah.
3PO, shut down all the compactors on the detention level. 3PO. There we go. We're doing it here. Some Star Wars action. All right. Should we transition into some meat and potatoes? We want to answer some questions. As you know, Laughing Vikings, we're a studio for actors, comedians, and creators. So we're here as a digital media studio to help support people in their careers doing auditions in studio via Zoom, voiceover, podcasting. We got some hookups for demo reels and for acting classes as well. So the point of this is we have a membership program. So it is a real community, and it's something that the reason we exist is to create our own content and create our own projects and produce our own projects, but also to help people in our community and our peers and regulars here at Laughing Vikings achieve all their dreams. So part of these segments, we take questions, and so you can ask us anything specific. Acting could be about acting, could be about stand-up, could be about how Laughing Vikings works and how the membership works, how our audition session works. And as I say, if you just want to ask us what we had for breakfast, you can ask that too.
Yeah. So let's start with the agent question. So Lars, what are some tips to help get an agent?
Right. Okay. So a lot of people getting into acting, or it doesn't matter what phase you're in, you want to have an agent to book you professional roles. So first caveat that I want to say is you shouldn't even be thinking about getting an agent until you know your training is rock solid. So if you're just a person that and I was kind of guilty of this early on. I actually think I was through a connection through Yuck Yucks. She was the manager of a Yuck Yucks, but she used to be an agent, and she knew the agent that I ended up signing with. But I probably got an agent earlier than I should have, because I don't think I really knew what I was doing. I had some talent level, but I wasn't properly trained, and I certainly didn't have any on-camera technique. So the first thing is you shouldn't really be thinking about getting an agent until you've done acting training. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be like a 4-year conservatory, but you got to have some rock solid craft, because and Tom, our teacher, our coach at the Todoroff Conservatory, always talks about this, and he teaches people who they're just chomping at the bit, get an agent, get an agent, get an agent. And he's very he wants to warn people of that, because you can burn those bridges. And even if you do get an agent and then you go see a casting director, if you're not rock solid, then it's a first impression that doesn't give you a second chance if you kind of blow that, or if you just seem like you're unprofessional and you're not ready for the league. And he also often talks about how a lot of people just feel because they were in a school play, or because they can quote unquote memorize lines, or because a family member said like, oh, you should be an actor someday, that just means, oh, I get an agent, get a picture, and all of a sudden somebody says, you got the goods, kid, and throws you in the movies. And that's really not the way it works. So you don't want to do that too early, because you're just burning all those bridges. Also, the thing is, it's professional. There's a huge difference between community theater and having fun, or even making your own sketches and plays, to being paid thousands of dollars per day in a high pressure $1 million production where there's 100 crew and cast, and you got to nail your marks and nail continuity and nail all your lines. Otherwise you blow a take that then it ends up costing them $10,000 to do it again, because it was a crane shot and something was blowing up in the background. Like there's really high stakes to this. So I would just, the caveat is wait until you really feel that you're ready. And the other thing that goes with that is don't even bother approaching an agent until you have the materials. An agent is like a sales rep for you. So in order to be able to sell you, you got to have all the craft, and you got to have the ability, like the professional skills, craft, and technique to be paid as a professional. And Tom always mentions too, it's like every other trade or profession, you got to go through schooling and certification, but technically anyone can call themselves an actor and then go try and get an agent. But that would never fly in any other avenue where you're like, yeah, I'm a carpenter. But it's like, that's just because you got a business card and took a picture of you with a hammer and now you're a carpenter. Like it doesn't really make sense. So, but provided that you got your technique, and I think that probably means a stage or scene study acting class, and an on-camera class if you're looking to do TV and film, because it is different. It's slightly different. It's adapting a little bit to lens, and maybe changing your voice. It's essentially all rooted in the same training, though. If you're a theater trained actor, you're going to be fine on TV and film, but you might need a little bit of training to figure out lens and frame. But after that, it's going to be your materials. An agent needs professional headshots, and those aren't headshots that were taken by your buddy who just bought his first DSLR and he took you into an alley here and took a couple pictures that don't look like headshots. So pay some money for a professional photographer who actually specializes in actor headshots, because it's not as simple as just like, here I am in my backyard. Also, a resume formatted in a document. We won't get into the formatting of that, but You can Google actor resumes or shoot us a message if you want to see how to format that. You don't necessarily have to have a huge resume, but you at least have to have a document that looks like a resume that shows whatever you've done. Maybe you've done some improv classes, maybe you have some acting classes, maybe you were in a like I wouldn't go back. I would never go back as far as like elementary or even high school unless you just graduated from high school. But looking back at student films, indie films, kind of whatever you have, you can put it on there. But then the other thing is demo reels. So in order to sell you and to pitch you to casting directors, especially now, since in a digital post-COVID age, we're not really getting into rooms as much, you need to have something to show that agent so they know, like, okay, what are you like? How like what roles may you be cast for? What are your chops like? Do you have some range? Do you have special skills? And that's tough for people as well. So, but don't even approach an agent. Like if you don't have a resume put together, headshots or a range of headshots, maybe 3 to 5 different looks, different vibes, and some form of demo reel. Otherwise, it's like you're going to ask somebody for something, or you're trying to start a relationship, but you don't even have the things necessary for that person to say yes. So you're going into a meeting, or you're sending an email to an agent that guarantees you're going to get a no because you don't have what they need. They only make money from the 15% of the bookings that you earn when you book stuff. So you don't have the craft, and you don't have experience, and you don't have headshots, and you don't have a demo reel. You're never going to get a gig because the agent has nothing to sell. So why waste your time and an agent's time by approaching them? That being said, if you got all that stuff, if you can put it together, ideally a demo reel has actual produced TV and or film. Obviously, the bigger and well-known it is, the better on your demo reel. But often that's a chicken and an egg dilemma for people, where they're like, well, I need experience to get a demo reel, but I need a demo reel to get an experience. So if you're new or starting out, or if you haven't got footage from things that you've been in, your other options, sort of the second tier of options, would be student films or indie films, where you put together your own cast and crew and shoot something of decent quality, and you're able to then cut out your scenes and just focus on you. And then the third tier below that, if you can't do that, but it might not even be below that, it may be equal, because one caveat with student films and indie films is usually the time that you're spending on those is unpaid. So it can be a decent chunk of time where you're committing to that, which is fine. In the beginning, I said yes to every student film and every indie film just to get the on-set experience and the camera time and the demo reels. The challenge with getting the footage is often it takes a year or two for films to be released. Sometimes projects don't ever get completed. Sometimes the editor deletes them off his hard drive. Sometimes the director or producers scrap the whole project, or sometimes they just stop replying to your emails. So you put in the time as a volunteer actor to be a part of this student or indie film, under the understanding that your pay really would be to get the footage, and it never arrives. So the other option is whether you do it at Laughing Vikings or somewhere else, you record sort of an audition style scene, or formerly called self-tape, self-record, self-submissions, and you have sides and a reader off camera, but it's just a frame of you, not a finished product with music and scoring and color correction and all that, but just a simple, nice close up to medium frame of you in a variety of either scenes, or those could be scenes or monologues. I guess scenes are probably closer to what you'll be dealing with when you're actually auditioning, but a couple contrasting monologues, and I would keep the monologues a minute long, and of varying styles. Like in Tom's class, he suggests always he has some classical, so maybe you might have a Shakespeare or a Chekhov. If it's more contemporary, make one of them very physical, so you can show some physicality. So maybe some movement, if there's some dance, or maybe there's a little fight choreo or something in it. Also one that's more of a sitcom writing. So again, something more contemporary from what you might get cast in these days for TV and film. And also if there's a dialect or an accent that you can do, maybe a self-written piece, but you got to really trust that the writing is good enough. What you want writing that's strong writing is really what makes strong actors, and the strongest actors are always working on the strongest writing. So if you get really strong writing for your monologue or for your scene, you're just going to present better. And you book a session here at Laughing Vikings, either on Zoom. We've done a bunch of them on Zoom, or we've done them here in the studio. Session director will work and rehearse with you, give you tips to kind of dial it up and tweak your performance and improve things. And then we'll edit it together. And we've had several people come to the studio and do just that, where they didn't have demo reels and they cranked out a couple monologues, a couple scenes, sent a resume, sent some headshots, and then they were able to land agents, or they got into a conservatory or a theater, like a repertoire company, and got work from that. So I guess the lesson is, don't do it too early, but also you got to fight for it. If you want an agent, it might take you a while to do that. And so provided you have all that stuff, once you have your demo and you have your materials and you have your training, then it's like, how do I actually approach these agents? And you can cold call, email, you can go to their websites, you can send them packages, but cold calls, if you're an unknown, is like a needle in a haystack that you'd be snagged. Again, agents are looking to make money from you. So if you're an unknown who has no resume and no work, would you represent you knowing that you would only get 15% from your non-career? It's a tough one for someone to take that leap. So the best way, and the way that I was taught and the way that I've seen have success in the industry, is an actor referral. So assuming you know other actors, and even if you don't, you can go to the roster of some of these agents. You can see who is on them. Maybe you do have a connection with some of those actors. And for an actor to introduce you, and it's just a simple email where you CC two people, and like I've done it with my agent occasionally, where, but again, I don't do it too often because it's like you don't want to leverage your relationships too much, where you're just like burning bridges. Like, so someone's got to really have their shit together for me to want to do it. But just an email saying like, hey, this person is looking for, I know this person, I've worked with them in several theater and TV film productions. They're great, doing lots of good stuff. They're looking for new representation. Thought I'd introduce you to see if there might be a mutual fit. Hope it works out. And then I just kind of wash my hands of it. And then they follow up with each other. Sometimes it's at a meeting. These days, I think it's usually a Zoom meeting, to get a feel for what the actor's looking for, what the agent's looking for, see if there's a mutual fit. It's also a weird time right now because this last year, the industry's been in flux because of COVID. So a lot of agents have been scrambling just to figure out how to get their current roster back to work. But that being said, I would never really discourage. If you feel you're ready and you got the stuff, I would like go fight for it and go get it, and just kind of be not relentless in an annoying way. But if you contact people, I would say don't accept it unless it's clearly a no, never, you're awful, please never contact me again, which would probably never happen unless you did something really weird off the top in contacting them. Usually what you might do is you'd send them, maybe if you send out that email, or if you get that referral and it doesn't work out immediately, then a few months later, give them some new good news in a real nonchalant way. Not like, hey, where have you been? I haven't heard from you for 6 weeks. Why didn't you reply to my email? But like, hey, just wanted to check in. I'm doing this theater show. Here's some tickets. By the way, here's my new demo. I'm also a singer. I just released my new single. Check this out. So you give them good news and make them realize that you're doing stuff, whether you have an agent or not. And that's the other thing that I would say is, a lot of people think that the agent is going to be the savior to your life and career. And the second you get an agent, your agent just makes you. But they're still going to fight. They're going to have to fight to get you in casting directors' rooms. Casting directors then have to see your audition. They'll pitch you to production. So there's a lot of steps there for you to actually get it. But I know a lot of very successful actors who are unrepresented and they just hustle. They're really strong actors. So their work speaks for themselves when they self-submit on any of the casting sites. They have already relationships with producers and directors and with other actors who are self-producing their own things, and they're able to just hustle and get it done. So don't think that it's the be all and end all. And the flip side to that is when you do get an agent, a lot of people think that's like, oh, I got an agent, that's how I get work. So, and then they don't make relationships, they don't network, they don't go to special events, or they don't continue to even train because they're like, well, I just wait for my agent to send me an email every few weeks, and that's how I get ahead in this business. So your agent technically works for you. You got to be the CEO of your own business, even when you get an agent. So just don't put as much weight into that as you think you need to, and don't do it too early.
We have a follow-up question from Joseph Simon, who says, what if you apply everywhere and no agent calls?
Right. So first of all, I would say, how did you apply? If you cold called, emailed, I would say that's exactly what you should expect. I mean, they don't really owe you anything, and they don't if they don't know you. And you also could have been one of 500 people who cold called them and sent them that email. So I would go back to the drawing board maybe first and figure out, do you have relationships with friends who you know very well, who are on rosters of agents that you potentially would want to work with, and get that introduction. It doesn't need to be like a full vouch where the person needs to like, oh, I fully vouch for everything this person's done. It just needs to be a friendly introduction. This person's a good guy. They're a working actor looking for new representation. Hope it works out. And then you follow up with your materials and your demos and everything, and a request to have a Zoom meeting or a meetup for just be like, have a quick coffee meeting. Like I would say, like, let's have a 15-minute coffee meeting. That's kind of what you'd shoot for. And if it lasts longer than that, great. And then the second part to that is, if you don't have that personal relationship, like I said, just follow up, give it some time, but like 6 weeks later. But you got to be smart and very nonchalant. You don't want to be, if you come across as pestering them or bugging them, or any sense of cynicism, like, oh, what, like, how come you didn't answer my email? You're going to get blown off in a hurry there. People are busy. But a friendly, hey, how you doing? Wanted to check back, and give them good news, and give them good news about what you're doing, because the best actors out there who are the most valuable to their agents are the ones that the work's coming and then their agent's just handling the paperwork, versus the agent has to do everything to fight to get them the jobs, and then the actor does nothing but wait for an email. So the more you can be out there doing things, self-produce your own shows if you're making your own sketches, or doing monologues, and just give them the updates. Here's the good news. And then they see like, oh, this guy's a hustler. Or especially training. That's the biggest thing. And I would say, honestly, if you're now, and this is retrospective, this is me saying this to my former self, I would say, if you aren't regularly training, you should always be ongoing training. You should always be in some type of class. Agents love that. Casting directors love that. You'll feel better. You'll feel stronger. You'll always be growing. And kind of the second you stop training, you're not really in the game, especially if you're not training and you're not booking roles, because then it's like, are you even an actor at that point? Like, what are you doing?
I don't think that always necessarily means that you have to join a class. Right. You can do some things on your own. Like, I know I watch a lot of YouTube videos just on like interviews with actors, just watching people talk about their craft and how they do a particular thing. It is fascinating. Right. And it's also a good learning tool for how I can change something, or how I can adapt what I'm doing to maybe make something better. And but it's always about continuously working. And so the more you're working, the more you're trying to find things. Mandy is a great resource just to find something independent to do that maybe you're not the writer, maybe you're not the producer, but you can try and be like, okay, I'm still auditioning for things. I'm still going out for things, and just keep going with the hustle. And I don't think it's a bad idea to submit every now and again to an agent that you've maybe applied for before, and apply again.
Right.
Just resubmit.
Right. And what was I going to say there too? Yeah. As far as training in the life of an actor, I mean, that can be a formal class in person. That could be a Zoom class. That could be watching master classes. That could be watching interviews with actors or actors on actors. That can be reading plays, that can be watching acclaimed films, like good ones that are known for being award-winning films for either the screenplay or the acting itself. Figuring out your own voice and speech lessons and doing those, working on text. All of those things are things that you can always be doing. And then so sooner or later, you just get to the point where you are so good and you're so armed and dangerous with actual craft and skills that the agents, it's sort of like when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And also don't take a no from an agent as a rejection, because it's kind of like dating. It's a relationship. And if you're the type of person that when someone rejects you and isn't into you, you want them more, you're in a fucked up toxic relationship. Because why would you want love from someone, or why would you want to give love to someone who's overtly said like, no, I'm not into you. I don't want, this is not something I want. So and then realize when it does happen, it's meant to be. If it didn't happen, like it wasn't the right fit. So like, how could you, like, you wouldn't want that person as your agent, because you want someone who's excited about you and meets you and is like, okay, yeah, this guy's got the goods. He's training. He's got a good demo. He's got great headshots. He's got a great attitude. He's continually working. I'm going to go to bat for this guy. And if they're just kind of like, man, I don't know you, then it's not going to help you out. Like, you're not going to be in a better situation with an agent who doesn't feel gung-ho about you than with no agent, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great agent questions. The other thing I would say too is don't make the mistake of playing the field at the same time. And I'll relate it to a dating thing. I personally would never set up 3 meetings in a day and pit agents against each other, or have a great meeting with an agent and it goes amazing. And then you're like, at the end, you're like, if they're like, yeah, so it looks like it'd be a good fit. There's some paperwork, we want to sign this. And you're like, well, I actually have a meeting with another agency tomorrow and I want to check that out. Imagine if you were dating and you go out on a date and you have an 8 p.m. date, and the guy or girl that you're dating at the end of that date is like, okay, I got to wrap this up. It's 10 o'clock now. I actually have another date at the restaurant across the street with another lady. And I'm going to see how that goes. And then I'll compare notes and I'll see which one of you is better. Like, both of them would be like, fuck you. So I would say, if you have a short list, rank them number 1, number 2, number 3, take the first meeting, figure it out. Is it going to be a good fit? Yes, no. If it's no, then move on. Don't get into a situation where you're wasting anyone's time playing the card of like, well, I got to go see if they think I'm a hot commodity for them, because it's just, you'll end up losing both meetings potentially. And sometimes they know each other as well, where like you have a good impression with this first agent, but a bad impression with the other agent. And then one agent calls the other, who the fuck is this guy? And next thing you know, you have no agents. So yeah. I mean, it's being a good human, but it's also a business too. So don't take any of it personally. What do we got here? We got some more comments.
Yeah, we got a comment from Adam Daniel Mazet, who says, and let's not forget the sad occasional reality that actors who are represented are completely unprofessional schleps on set versus an actor who is currently unrepresented and carries themselves and their brand almost like running a well-oiled business.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into any negative stuff, but obviously, like any field, there's some people who are amazing, and then there's the occasional asshole. So, and that has nothing to do with whether or not someone has an agent. So, and really, career success probably doesn't have much to do with whether or not you have an agent.
And really, the focus is not on everyone else.
Yeah,
the focus is on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't get caught up and compare yourself to others,
right.
because it only leads down to a path of depression and anxiety, and you don't need that in your life.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with you. Yeah, that's a good point, Adam. That's a good point, Brandon. For Adam, is don't even pay attention to those. I mean, maybe clock that. Like, okay, that's the kind of like that's a good example of how not to behave. But don't get lost in any kind of comparison or like, well, how come they're getting that and I don't have that? Like, chances are they're not having a very happy life. If that's someone who's being a jerk on set, their whole life is probably just full of jerkiness, and they probably don't have good relationships, and they're probably very unhappy inside. So what else we got here?
To your point, Broiler, all it takes sometimes is a nugget. Pro tip, love the trivia tab on Prime Video films, which are a trove of BTS and Insider Dish. I don't really know that.
Yeah, I don't know it either, but I guess check out Prime Video, and there's a tab that's called Trivia, and it's got all kinds of behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, the scenes
like
stuff.
Inside the Actors Studio is also really great. What is it? To the Actor is also really good. There's a clip that I watched. Sorry, you can keep talking, Lars. I want to find something.
Okay.
Sorry, Off Camera. The Off Camera,
okay.
Which is also, they break up clips onto YouTube as well, is also fantastic. They have some great interviews. Keep looking, keep always trying to find those little nuggets, because like, as I said, sometimes it's just that little thing that helps and changes everything for you. And that's always great to find. And just listening to some people's journeys going there, and like, because sometimes we don't see the iceberg, we only see the top of it. We don't see the bottom. We don't see the hard work. I love listening to Matt Damon talk. Matt Damon talking about acting is wonderful, because he worked so hard to get to where he is today, along with Ben Affleck. But like, they worked so hard to get to where they are today that we sometimes forget about what they did before they made Good Will Hunting, and why they made Good Will Hunting.
Right. Yeah, so, the lesson there being create your own shit, be the master of your own destiny, fight for what you want, create the career you want, make it happen. And that's why I mean, obviously the practical reality of agents is, it's part of the business, but it's actually not the main thing in your career. So it's for a lot of people, it's the cart before the horse. They're worrying about agents like way before they should be worrying about, do they even know what they're doing? Do they even know what it takes? Like, are they at the level where someone should be paying them thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to do something professionally? So just beware of that, and also make the decision: are you acting for fun and as a hobby, or do you want to do it professionally? Because if you're doing it for fun, then why do you need an agent? Okay, let's move on out of the agent stuff.
So we do have another question. Goes into, does the industry knows what's best for you? But let me pull it up. Sorry. Okay. So you might want to play the leading male, but you're constantly cast as a colorful villain. You want to act, but you are more often cast as a super stunt performer. Don't fight the industry's energy. It knows what's best for you.
Okay. So that's a two-part answer for me is, early on, there's a little bit of that. The reality is people are going to see what you are. Like, you walk in the door, you're a certain look. So you're going to fit a certain mold based on your age, based on your size, based on your hair, based on your face, based on your wardrobe. You're going to look that, and it's impossible. It's first impressions. Your agent's going to make those calls from you. Obviously, your headshots are going to make a difference, and who you're playing if you have a demo reel, like what they actually see. But there's no getting around that. So early on, you probably don't want to fight that. I don't know that you want to be saying no to. I mean, you got to be careful. Maybe I'll say early on, you got to be careful, because if you just did land an agent and they were able to get you in some rooms, and then immediately you're like, no, I don't want to do that. Or you book a role and you're like, no, I don't want to play that role. I want to play this role. You're quickly going to have those doors closed in front of you rather than continually opened. But I would say that's only early on. And sometimes you can ride that. Like, a lot of people's careers were made where they were typecast early on, but it got them a shit ton of work. It got them into the union, paid for all kinds of stuff for them, and got them to the point where then they were known enough to branch out. The second part to that question, the industry knows but what's best for you, I would put a strong caveat for that. That sounds to me like a terrible life strategy, putting your own destiny in their hands, because there actually is no they. There is no they. there's no like Hollywood board of directors where they're all like, okay, who's this guy? Let's put a rubber stamp on this. There is no they. So ultimately, if you're that villain who wants to play leading roles, or you're a leading role guy or a comedy guy who wants to play dramatic or more dramatic or like villainous type stuff, that's going to be up to your own decision and how much you fight for that. And you might be in a situation where your agent sees you as this wacky comedy guy, or whatever the typecast is. Your agent in casting at a certain point might see you as one person. So you might need to fight to break those stereotypes. But I think you got to trust what you actually want. So I wouldn't want to get to a point in my career where I say, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to do the things that I want to do because the industry knows what's best for me. Like that just, it's a recipe for depression by the sounds of it. So at some point, that might mean, and I think it happens with Hollywood A-listers where they've been known, and there's been several. Matthew McConaughey is a great case where he was rom-com, shirt-off, stoner guy for the first half of his career and crushed it as that, and then didn't want to do that anymore because he was expanding who he wanted to be. He wanted to grow, and he stopped answering the phone and they were turning down $5 million and then $10 million. And I think it reached a $15 million offer for him to return to kind of a classic McConaughey shirt off rom-com. And he turned it down. And it was like a year or two of no work where he was afraid and actually like had thoughts of like, am I done? Like it's either this doing things that I don't love or that I'm bored of or nothing. And he ended up coming back and had a series of like really successful movies. And now he's leading man in some powerhouse movies, and he's got some of the best chops and an award-winning actor. And there's other cases of that too, where, and often what happens is you might have someone who's not auditioning and they're just booking stuff off who they are and who they've been. All of a sudden they might have to audition, and they'd be like, well, I know you don't see me as that guy, but take a look at this tape. So if you want to break those typecastings, you might have to work for it. You might actually have to show them exactly what you got so that they don't have to use their imagination as well, because it's a tough call. Like what does Adam say? Another example here,
Tom Hanks, Splash versus Philadelphia and Forrest Gump.
There's a lot of comedians who classically have that route. I mean, Jim Carrey, Will Ferrell, Robin Williams, they've all done the most wacky, outrageous comedy, but at some point they took a turn and then they were like powerhouse, Oscar winning and Academy Award winning
and there has been cases of some people that have stayed in the same lane, that have played like villains and then stayed in that lane, and then they don't really work after a certain period of time. Malcolm McDowell. Malcolm McDowell is a good example of this. When he did Clockwork Orange, he was cast in a lot of villain roles after that because of the success of Clockwork Orange. But then he never really branched out and tried to do like the nice guy or the best friend or something to break free of what he's doing. And then he sort of got pigeonholed into that category and then never really got out of it. Right. So I think it is important that you try and find a variety of roles to do and practice, and even if it's just on your own, so that way if someone gives you a script and is like, I want you to try and read this, you're ready for it, and you're ready for a variety of different things. Like it's like Tom always says, don't play just one key on the keyboard, play all 88 keys. Give yourself the option to be everything. Because you can be everything.
I mean, and ultimately at its max level, that's exactly what an actor is. It's the notion of just playing yourself all the time it's okay. And obviously you want to bring elements and like you are the character. There's no character in you. It is you. So you got to be bringing elements of you to it. But it's like, you think of the master careers, there are people who disappear into the roles. They physically don't even look the same. Maybe they don't sound the same. Gary Oldman's a good example. I would say Johnny Depp's a pretty good example. Leonardo DiCaprio is a good example.
Colin Firth, even.
Yeah, I mean, we're also giving all male guys, but obviously the master,
that's what we study really some of the time.
The master Meryl Streep is the reason the powerhouse she is because she's different in everything. She's got
Kate
massive
Winslet.
chops. Her voice is always different. Yeah, Jared Leto, Peter Sellers.
Oh yeah,
Charlize Theron.
Theron. That's a great one. Yeah.
Yeah, they're transformational. They got the chops and they can do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, did that answer that question? Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
So I would say early on, I mean, you got to watch. You don't want to be a full yes man, but if immediately you're like, no, I'm a leading man, I don't like. But then you got to graduate out of that. But I think what graduates you out of that more than you deciding is your craft and your chops and your training, so that then you can be like, well, no, fuck, I'm like, there's no reason why I can't play any character.
Mm-hmm.
You might just have to fight to showcase that a little more, which might mean doing more of it, might mean putting up a one-man show, might mean writing a play that you're the star of. It might mean just recording the demo scenes to show things. Or if you've never done stunts and you want to do stunts, well, you're probably gonna have to put together a stunt reel or a fight reel and show somebody like, look at all this crazy shit that I'm doing. Put me in your stunt movies.
Yeah.
But certainly I don't think you ever want to get to the point where you're like, the industry knows what's best, because this industry is wrought with horrible situations as well. So if you're ever in that kind of victim-y headspace where you're like, I'm just doing what they're telling me to do, you're potentially going down a slippery slope there.
Yeah. Don't let yourself fall into that trap.
Yeah. Fight for what you want. If you want something, if you're like, I want to be a leading man, then you just like fight like hell your whole life until you are one.
Mm-hmm. All right. So something fun for today. I have a random question for you, Lars.
Uh-oh.
So my random question for you today is, if you could be a member of any TV sitcom family, which would it be?
Does it have to be real life? I mean, my first instinct is Simpsons.
That would be hilarious. That would be great.
Yeah.
Would you want to like take over Homer, or would you like be like the uncle that comes in?
I feel like I can't take a character. I got to be like Homer's brother or something like that.
That's awesome.
But let me think. Live action, sitcom family. So not just any cast, but an actual show that had a family in them. Man, I can't even think of families right now. That is a random question. Go to your answer. What's your answer?
My answer is War at Home. I loved that show growing up. It only had like 3 seasons, but I think I could fit into that kind of mold really well. I always remember his bit where he's like, I wash my hands of you. I love that line. I thought that was great.
Bring up Joseph Simon's suggestions there.
2.5 Men. Yeah.
He says 2.5 Men. Who you want to be? You want to be Charlie or the brother?
Or Malcolm in the Middle. Malcolm in the Middle would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Malcolm in the Middle was one that crossed my mind too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could be like.
It was one of the first ones that started doing single camera comedy, basically.
Be the older brother. Oh, you know what? Maybe the answer is Arrested Development.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great answer.
That's probably my live action answer, and then my my other answer would be to be a Simpson. Yeah.
Both great. I mean, just to be on The Simpsons would be so much fun. That would be like a dream come true.
Right. Joseph Simon says he's more like Charlie. Yeah.
Well, he got replaced several times, so
you're just he's writing jingles and womanizing and drinking tiger blood. Joseph Tiger Blood Simon. That's what they call him. I'm more like Charlie. Hopefully you're not too much like Charlie. We want you to live a long time, Joseph. I feel like Charlie Sheen has shaved a few years off his life with his hard living.
Yeah. All right. I think we should probably start wrapping this baby up.
Yeah.
Are you ready for a quote to inspire our week, Lars?
Sure thing. But first, let's before we inspire, let's end on the inspiration. Let's let people know 2 things. We've talked about a lot about acting and agents, but the underlying lesson of that agent talk is make sure your craft and your training is rock solid first. That should always be first and foremost in your minds. over an agent. So if you want to go to laughingvikings.com/actors, there's a link there to the Tom Todoroff Conservatory. Both Brandon and I are a member of their weekly workshops. I was just down in New York for the week-long summer intensive, and I'll be part of the conservatory in this upcoming year as well. But you can get the first workshop for free at that link, and you can join us. It's a text analysis, scene study, and also voice and speech with acclaimed faculty members who have taught at some of the most prestigious acting institutions in the world. So you'd be happy to join us. And when you join the monthly membership, you can use the code LARS15, 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 sorry. And that'll get you 15% off the monthly membership. So check that out. And if you're new to Laughing Vikings and you've never been here before, we do our first audition session on the house. So you can book a studio audition session if you've got a self-tape request, or we can do them via Zoom if you're not in Toronto, or if you just want to connect via Zoom to save yourself the travel time. Go to laughingvikings.com/gift, GIFT, laughingvikings.com/gift, GIFT. Yeah, Brandon's pointing at it right there. But for the listeners, I'm spelling it out. Not GIF or GIF, gift, gift, like the gift of a free self-tape session. So hit those up. As always, make sure to connect with us on Instagram at Laughing Vikings. You can watch these episodes on Facebook Live and YouTube Live every Monday at 6. And if you've ever got questions or you need help with anything, send us an email to lol@laughingvikings.com, lol@laughingvikings.com, or shoot us a DM on Instagram. And as always, when you share this episode, share this out, share it on social. You can take a screen grab and share it on Instagram, and we'll enter you in a draw to win some other prizes, some swag, some Comedy Alley tickets, maybe another free session here, all kinds of goodies. But share it out to your actor friends. The more the merrier. So hit us with some inspiration now.
All right. Our inspirational quote to inspire our week is: there are people in this world that will never become their best until you become your best. And that comes to us from the James Wedmore group, which you are doing a class with, or a weekend intensive with.
No, that's not a weekend intensive. That's actually a year-long business.
Oh, is it?
That's a year-long digital business program. It's a signature program called Business by Design, which is for digital CEOs. And James Wedmore, he is the host of a podcast called Mind Your Business, which is sort of it's a hybrid of business and mostly digital business, online business, with mindset, manifestation, money mindset, all that kind of stuff. And he's brilliant. So that quote was, read it again.
People will not become their best until you become your best.
Right. So I think this is, and Brendan Burchard talks about this, who's another one of my coaches through Growth Day, through his app. He's a New York Times bestseller and one of the world's most high performance coaches. Like, he works with Olympians and past presidents and current presidents and all kinds of people. And he's brilliant. But he also talks about the importance of having a role model mentality. So, and really what that comes down to is raising your own personal bar and personal expectations, and having the sense that you got to be a leader in your own family, in your own peers, even with strangers. Everyone's always looking, everyone's always watching. And whether you realize it or not, you're setting a bar, and for better or worse, people are making some type of judgment, but they're never mind the judgment. We can't really worry about people's judgment, but you can raise your personal bar so that you're feeling the life that you're living is then a role model for other people. So then people see you and be like, oh, why is that guy always in a good mood? Why is he happy? Why is he doing well financially? Why is he like, what's his secret, kind of thing? And often the secret is they raise their personal expectations to the heavens. Tom always says that is like, he raise your expectations to the heavens. Tony Robbins talks about that. Burchard talks about that. Often some people will say, oh, it takes a long time to change, but it can also happen in an instant where someone just decides, you know what, enough's enough. The life I've been living isn't the life that I want to lead. It's time to take it from here to here. And when you do that, other people take note, and you're always the average of the 5 people around you. So if you're the type of person that's raising your own bar, then the 5 people that are around you the most are going to hopefully raise with you. And that's really important if you have a family, if you have close friends, if you have a company or a charity or volunteer organization. So just raise your bar so that you inspire other people. And that's something that we've definitely been committed here to at Laughing Vikings, which isn't always the easiest because we all slip and fall and we're all human and we all make mistakes too. So it's a tough thing. It's not like you got to be perfect, but I think the more you're focused on that and setting an example, the better life you're going to lead, and you're going to have larger impact and influence. And when you're dead, more people will show up at your funeral and say thanks.
Yeah, I always think of it as be the inspiration that you wanted to receive. Right. And I always try and use that mentality when doing self-tape sessions for other people, because I know I never felt overly encouraged growing up, especially doing high school music theater and then going and doing university acting. Like sometimes you just you fall through the cracks and you don't become the person in class that everyone talks about all the time. But like keep inspiring and keep inspiring other people around you. Sometimes the best leaders are the quiet leaders that just want to do it, that do the best work by example. And they don't need to be loud. They don't need to be the person that's like, look at me, look at, or listen to me. That's the person that's doing their work, that's doing the best they can. And that's all you need to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, ultimately your actions are going to speak
louder than words.
Stronger than your words. So yeah. What's Adam Daniel Mazet say there? Oh, that's nice. Bring that up. I can certainly vouch for that, Broiler. Both you and Lars are stellar motivators and coaches. It's always a gas. Well, thank you, sir. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's always a pleasure, Adam.
And 100%, like, and I think this is something that just happens as you get older and you start less worrying about your own shit and more not worrying, but more focused on maybe helping other people with some stuff. I've had some of the most like genuine, fulfilling moments of my career over the last 4 years since Laughing Vikings started, when people tell me, oh, that audition we taped there, I booked that gig. I'm a serious regular on this. I booked my first TV show. I got an agent. I got into that conservatory. And when you get to that point, it's just, then you're like, oh, okay, I see. This is what it's all about. It's actually not all about my own shit, my own selfish, like, oh, I got to get to here and then to here and a bigger gig and a bigger role and a bigger gig. Sometimes it's just help a bunch of other people get what they want, and you'll by default get what you want if you do that. And also Bo Eason, sort of relating to our previous comment, he talks about just staying loyal to your dream. You mentioned you maybe don't have to be super vocal about it, but if you're doing things every day that are bringing you closer to your goals and the life that you want, people are going to take notice. And then also don't worry about if people aren't hopping on board with that. It's not their dream. It's got nothing to do with them. The whispers were in your ears from source or the universe or whatever you want to call that message and that dream came to you, not to them. And if it was their dream, it would have come to them and they would believe in it. So
drown out the other voices because they don't matter.
Yeah. Good.
All right. I think that is it for today's show. Thank you, everyone, for watching today. We love you. We appreciate you. Have a happy Monday.
And hit us up in Comedy Alley this Friday and Saturday.
Comedy Alley.